In this final lesson about Live Home 3D, we're gonna discover a little bit more about camera rendering, animation, and finalization of our project. So this one that you're looking at is a render made with cycles inside Live Home 3D directly. So it's the same render engine that Blender uses. Now the outcome is not extraordinary, but I think it's good enough for demonstrating some particular parts about your project, like if you want to show something more to your client or your professor. The architecture idea is pretty clear. We can see the interior here, the exterior. So again, nothing too fancy, but it will make the job done. So on the right side here, we have some advanced options which can help you to change the lighting intensity, the rays of the global illumination, and then you have also rays for reflections and diffuse effects of the materials. In general, some advanced, and if you increase all the rays values, you will have a better rendering. Now, this is in Italian right now, but I think it's pretty easy, so don't worry, you will find everything I will talk about. Now, we also have filters. Now, filters is kind of post-production for your rendering. Now, I've already made this render. I will show you how you can create a render in just a minute, but once you finish the render, then you can modify it with some coloring, color correction, using filters, using all these parameters, which are mainly exposure and then lightness and contrast. You can work on the midtones, you can work on halftones, you can work on the dark areas, the bright areas, and that's all about it. Now, if you know Photoshop or another graphic design application, usually you can do the same thing. So you can apply a lot of graphic design effects. You can use also AI tools in Photoshop, for example, if you want to insert, do photo montage, and much, much more. So this is just, the beginning of adjusting your render, which again doesn't come like extraordinary with Live Home 3D. You may, if you want to have more realism, you may want to check some other render engine. You will also find them in the channel, like for example, Redshift or Octane or V-Ray, or also Twinmotion, Enscape for animation are excellent, etc., etc. So you find an entire section in the channel talking about all different render engine that you can use. But here we have cycles, which is also used by Blender. So you have also a denoiser already for you that it will help you to get rid of the little dots that will appear. So everything is kind of preset. You don't need to do much. Just need to choose a camera. You need to choose a resolution, some other parameters here. Then you have samples for the rendering. So the more you increase the samples, the better the rendering will be. And this is a resolution. So you can also arrive to 2K, and then you can see now the render is gone. So when you're ready, you need to run the render, and it's going to take a few minutes. So this is why I want to show you this before. Now for the device, I'm using my CPU, so it is not able to use the GPU apparently. So CPU, and also here you can choose the camera you want to render, resolution again. You can also customize some meshes. You can use sections or buckets. So if you don't want to render everything, but just like small portions at a time, you can set a resolution. Let me show you. So if I run here, run the rendering, it's gonna run, it's gonna start to render, and again, it's gonna take several minutes. So I don't wanna wait, and I don't wanna you to wait for the rendering, just showing you a little bit. And this is region by region or bucket by bucket. So every time the CPU is gonna take care of one piece, and this will be less heavy to your device. So I think it's kind of suggested to do this, but you can also run the entire render at once. And you can see all those dots, those are because of the global illumination and samples. And when it's finished, the denoiser will get rid of all of that. Well, you can also turn off the denoiser if you don't want it. And once you finish, again, you can go here and do some post productions with the filters, etc., etc. So just to show you quickly that in this way you can render. Now, to render, you need cameras, and we do have cameras already in the camera panel in Lightroom 3D. So we go back here in the panel. In the camera panel, you have everything you need already. So you have some cameras set for you, but you can adjust them. And you can see here, I created one of my own. It's called Kitchen. And I can adjust the elevation. I can adjust the rotation horizontally, the rotation vertically, etc., etc. If you don't want like oblique lines, you may want to leave the vertical rotation to 0. Otherwise, you will have some, well, not straight vertical lines, essentially. And you can see down there, you have export, 3D view, and then you have run the rendering. So you can choose. Now, rendering is longer and more complex. 3D view is easier and faster. Now we can move here with the preset cameras, which are like from different sides, left, right, and then also from the top. If you want to do like a plan view, a rendered plan view, or you want to create some elevation views, you can use these. And then you have other cameras that you can create by setting up the camera inside the 2D view. So we're going to use the 2D view to set up the camera, and you can already see the camera that I am selecting right now, which is this one here. So if I move it around, it's going to change the view. So you have already some cameras in the scene that you can use, and just you can position them differently, and then you can rotate them with the rotation handle here. You can point at something else in the scene, and then you see here, go back and forward, and that's going to be saved in here. So every time I go back in here, I will find that camera. And again, I can adjust the rotation and vertically, horizontally, the elevation. And again, when I'm ready, I'm going to export 3D view, and there is this. So, or else I can run the render. I have these options. Now, when you export the 3D view, you can just save it in PNG. Now, from here, you can also delete, or you can duplicate a camera. You can rename the camera. So let's rename this as garden or exterior view or something like that. Let's call it garden view, and etc., etc. So I can go back to the kitchen, back to the garden, set up a list of different views that I like, and then render one by one. And also, if this camera is looking strange, so I'm gonna delete it. Also this, I'm gonna delete it. And you can also show in the plan view, and there it is. So maybe I can fix it by changing the rotation here. But it's so easy to create a camera. Let me show you. So I'm gonna delete this and just create a new one. And right now this is the site plan. So I'm gonna go back to, well, first of all, I wanna split the 3D and the 2D view. And then I wanna go here in the building panel, I wanna go to the first floor. And this is where I'm gonna place my camera. So you can choose also the floor where you are gonna place the camera. And I wanna place one in the living room here. So let me go here, up here, next to the annotation and tags and guides that we saw in the previous lesson. We have cameras and we have paths for the motion or animation. So this is a simple camera. So you click here, you can already see in the 3D what's happening. And then I can select it and I can like rotate it a little bit, change the direction where I'm pointing with the camera, and then I can choose the point of view. So I can change the position of the camera itself. And again, once I'm ready, let me go. Oh, we don't have any parameters in here. Let me just go to the camera panel, and this is the new camera I just created. So I can fix it from here. I can right click and rename it again. So let's call this like living room or something like that. So this will be also saved. So anytime I need it, I can just click in there and I can move from camera to camera and adjust them, or just leave it as it is, and or export them or render them. So if we click on export, we have a standard 3D view here we can choose the resolution, and if you want higher resolution, you need Pro version. And we also have a 360 panorama view, which is really interesting. Now let's save this as a simple image. So I'm gonna save this as test standard view. So this is not render, but I just want to show you what happens when you save this. Once it's finished, and this is pretty quick because this is just a simple 3D view in like preview mode. It's not the actual render, so it's going to be really quick. I can open to visualize it in the Windows visualizer, in the Windows photo gallery here, photo editor. So then I have a lot of tools that I can use. I can, and the same goes for the render. So you can, once you save the render, then you can share it on, you can upload it on OneDrive. You can send it to ClickChamp. You can share it. You can save it again. You can set it as a background. You can change the dimensioning. You can crop. You can print. You can share via email or any other um, you know media. And then here, if you click, you can edit this right away. You can crop it. You can change again all these post-production parameters that you find in the Windows visualization here, visualizer, and can change the shadows. Also, you can apply a vignetting effect, which is really nice, and you can also apply this in Photoshop, and this simulates what happens in the cameras. Saturation also, I think it's really interesting because sometimes these views are too, the colors are too intense. So you can decrease or increase the intensity, change the tint, change also the sharpness, etc., etc. So you can fix everything, make it a little bit better using just Windows. Or if you want, you can use Canva, Pixar, Photoshop, and many other graphic design applications. Now we also have some filters here we can apply, like black and white. We can also draw some nodes. We can also have a generative delete, kind of a AI tool here in Windows, but well, I think this will work better, not right now, but in the future. And we already have similar tools in Photoshop and Pixar, etc., etc. So you can delete parts, and you can adjust the size of the brush. So you can select something to delete and see if it's gonna be successful deleting it and generating something else. Now it's kind of generated a shadow there. So anyway, you can use some other AI tools like removing the background, using a blur, depth of field perhaps, and other effects that you can get, as I said, with the better result using Photoshop or similar. And that's it. So I think it's good enough for this little um, visualizer in Windows. Now let's go back to cameras, and also want to show you 360. So if I export here, instead of using standard 3D, I use a Panorama 360 panoramic view. Let's see what's going to happen. And you have some of these are locked because you need the Pro version for those, but this will be fine to do a demonstration. So I'm going to save 1K 360 panoramic view. That's going to be saved in the folder where you want. I already saved it one, so I'm going to use this one here. And I'm going to show you how it looks in Windows. So if I select this image and look this in the preview, you can see that it looks like a sphere being like flattened on a surface. And so that's not really good. You can see everything is distorted because you need to run this on a 360 visualizer. And again, you have many options to visualize this. Even Facebook has a 360 visualizer, and so many other websites can help you. This one here is one website that can help you run a 360 panoramic view. If you upload the image, or you can just drag and drop the image, and then you can scroll the wheel of your mouse to go back and forward. You can see the resolution isn't great, but still it's nice to have like this freedom of moving the head around and see, all around what's happening in the space. So I think it's pretty handy to have this type of visualization. If you have also like side by side, you can use stereo and do like 3D with visors and virtual reality, more advanced stuff. Let me just go back here. I want to show you how you can get here, but if you just type like 360 Panorama visualizer on a Google search, you will find anything you need. You have also other options here. I just went for the first result here called render stuff, and I just drag and drop the image from the folder into the space, and that's it. So really easy to use it, but you can also try others. Okay, so back in the project, let me get to the 2D view. Now, this is a path representing a walkthrough animation. Now, walkthrough animation is made of many different cameras positioned in strategic points, like we can call those keyframes, and then you can change the curve, change the handles, and adjust it to your liking. I'm gonna delete it so we can create some one with you. So you can go from here, but also you can use the toolbar on the top. Next to the camera, we have the movie part or animation part. So we just need to click several times and position the various cameras. And these will be your keyframes, and everything in between will be calculated by the software. Be careful not to click on the same place, because otherwise we'll have a really slow animation, which could be you can have a fast animation or slow depending on the distance between the two keyframes, and you can adjust the handles here. You can see of each single point or vertex of this curve. You can adjust the point. You can adjust also the where you're pointing with the camera, where you're looking at with the camera, by clicking on the little gizmo and rotating them. So you can fix the various points of the part, and they will appear also in the right side. So you have the track there, and or the part or movie, and the various cameras which are created every time you add a point. And then on each camera you can adjust the elevation, the rotation, and everything we saw so far. So it's like creating a set of cameras that are like subsequential. They're gonna be used one after the other. And if I go here, I can continue and create more. So I can create more tracks with more cameras. Just gonna delete everything because I want to create a longer track. So I'm gonna delete the ones that I already created. But you can also create it from here. So if you click, it's gonna start with a new track, and then you have the possibility also down here. Let me show you here. You can make this also a loop animation. So it's gonna start where it's gonna end, or it's gonna end where it's gonna start. And then you can also add from here the cameras if you want, or the other tracks. So you can create more animations, just like you can create more cameras and more points on each track using the little button in there. Just you need to adjust, make sure they are not everyone on the same place, etc, etc. So I think you got the idea. Let me delete everything because I'm gonna start and create an entire pod, but I'm gonna use this one here on the top. So I'm gonna click and then start to position the main points of my walkthrough inside and outside the architecture that I created, the building that I created. Press ask when you're finished. This is not a loop, it's gonna end in there. So the end is different from the beginning. And now I will go through all the different cameras and adjust them. So I can start with the first one, see if it's pointing right. Otherwise, I can adjust the point of view and then go to the next one, adjust the curve of the movement of the walkthrough, and then adjust the objective, the aim of my camera, and then go to the next one, and then move to the next one and the next one, etc, etc. So it goes like this all the way, and you take care of every single step or keyframe. So the most important part of your animation. Everything else will be just rendered by Live on 3D. And that's it. I think you get the idea. So you can create your own. I just created 8 different points here, 8 different point of view, 8 different cameras. I'm going to click on record video, or I can render, and then you have also here some options. You have standard, you have 360 video if you want also to move around your head. Again, you need then a video player that lets you play 360 videos. And then also you have different formats, also 3D stereo. You can do side by side, vertically, horizontally, if you want to see that in 3D with the 3D glasses, 3D projector, or 3D screen. And also you have frame per second. So yeah, FPS, frame per second, meaning that you can increase, decrease. 30 will be fine. And just double click here and let's see the final result, which is a standard video, not rendered, but I think it's good because it's going to be fast and it's going to be excellent to show the idea to your client, to your professor, to your fellow student, colleague, wherever. And before you spend a lot of hours rendering, you can just run a preview and see if everything works. Walk around is always beautiful. You can also move upstairs if you change the height of the camera and go upstairs. It's going to be a little bit more complex, but you can do it. And I think it's good enough for what you can do with Live on 3D, totally free. If you want more, you can check Twinmotion, Unreal Engine, Enscape. They all have like similar tools for rendering and animation, but they have probably better results. And you can check the other video courses in the channel if you're interested. You can subscribe if you want to stay updated for more videos and video courses and video guides. You can join us if you want to thank us and support us. This will be all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video course.